This program features live coverage of an African safari and may include animal kills and carcasses. Viewer discretion is advised.
Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to Safari Live. It's wonderful to have the kids from 3 schools with us, very special indeed. Before they run away, we're just going to show you some elephants over there. Look at that, 2 young bull elephants. Corporate Landing, Parkway Elementary School. Wonderful to have you with us, ages 8 to 11. I believe that you're both studying animals and habitats. Well, they're your first 2 animals. And they're living in a habitat known as broadleafed combretum woodland. Isn't that a very special way to start our safari? Please ask as many questions as you would like to. All you do is ask your teacher and he or she will ask us, and I will do my best to answer any questions you have. At the moment it's only me here in the western fringes of the great Kruger National Park. We will also hopefully be coming to you live from the Maasai Mara in Kenya fairly shortly. What I'm going to do is just move the car slightly because we can't see their faces, and it's very nice to see elephants' faces, of course. So I say they're 2 young bulls, they're 2 young males. It's like having 2 young teenagers. They've just kind of left home. They've just left the comfort of their herd, and they are now enjoying a very green drink. There we go. You can see the water is very green simply because there's a lot of algae there. Cam, a safari is actually a Swahili word. Swahili is a language spoken extensively in East Africa, and safari basically just means a journey, and it became used by a lot of, I suppose, visitors to East Africa. They used to use it when they went on a journey to see wildlife. And so now when we talk about safari, we don't just talk about a journey, we actually mean a game drive or a journey that's objective is to see wildlife. And that's what we're on here. Normally African wildlife. I'm not sure anybody going to Yellowstone National Park or something like that refers to their trip as a safari, but they might. Oh, that elephant's just trying to cool down. It's been quite a hot day here in the Western Kruger Park. Probably, I'm told, it got up to 42 degrees Celsius or so, which is about 102 or 3 degrees Fahrenheit. I'm not sure that it got quite that hot, but it was around about 100 degrees Fahrenheit. Now you may notice that that water is very green, and the reason the water is very green is that it's got a lot of algae in it. Algae, of course, is green, and it can be quite poisonous to animals, but I don't think this particular algae is very poisonous. Hello, Alyssa. Elephants don't have horns. They've got what we call tusks, and they're actually teeth. So they're the same as your 2 front teeth, except that they obviously grow out the front of the elephant's mouth. They are the incisor teeth. There we go. Isn't that nice? Very beautiful indeed. We're very lucky to spend time like this with our animals. So we've got some elephants here. We're hopefully going to try and find a leopard a little bit later. And if we're very lucky, as the sun goes down, and I'm afraid you'll be in other classes by then, we'll see if we can't see some action at our Hyena Den. That's going to be our plan today. We've got 3 hours on safari. You guys, I'm afraid, have only got about 45 minutes with us, but that's okay. You'll still enjoy it, I'm sure. Beautiful, beautiful animal, that. So I think he's probably about, I'm going to say 16 or 17 years old. Daryl, you want to know how they get so big? Well, I could give you an enormously technical answer for how an animal gets as big as it does, but I'm just going to say this to you. They're designed to be big. So in the same way that you will grow to a certain size one day, Daryl, hopefully you'll be a bit bigger than me, and not as enormous as a Dothraki, but you know, somewhere in between. That is defined or determined by your genetics. So if you've got parents that are you obviously have parents, you'll be probably round about the same size as your father. You may be a little bit shorter, a little bit taller, but you'll probably be round about the same size. And well, elephants, of course, get so big because their parents are so big, and their parents are so big because that's just the design that they have, and that helps them to live effectively here. Now they're greeting each other, these two bulls. They often put their trunks in each other's mouths to greet and communicate. They're not greeting because, of course, they've been with each other probably for some time. So I don't think they're greeting each other so much as having a little conversation. I don't think that these elephants like the fact that the water is so green. They like freshwater elephants if they can get it. They will drink dirty water like this if they have to. But you see how he's blowing it out? I don't think he likes the taste. It probably tastes a little bit like pea soup, mixed with a bit of, well, what should we say, spinach. And I don't think either of them are that keen on having a drink here. There's another little water hole not too far from here. They'll probably go around there now. JC, elephants don't actually drink water through their trunks. They suck the water up into their trunks and then they blow it out into their noses. So if I'm not mistaken, the trunk probably holds about 1.5 gallons of water, and then they blow that out into their mouths. So they suck it up into the nose and then blow it into their mouths. I'm very glad I don't have to do that, because sometimes if I get liquid in my nose, you know, like when you're having a swim or something like that, it's a very unpleasant feeling. So I don't think they suck it all the way up to the sinuses, but they certainly suck up the water into the trunk and then blow it into the mouth. Julianne, elephants prey largely on squirrels. They love to eat squirrels. Squirrels for them are the most delicious thing in the world, and of course what they do is they reach up into the holes in the trees where the squirrels live and they pull them out, and then they hold them by the tail and swallow them. That's obviously a lie. Julianne, they actually prey on only vegetation, so they never eat any kind of meat. They only prey on vegetation. They eat lots of trees at this time of the year, lots of bark, lots of wood, and pods from seed pods from various trees. And then when summertime comes along, well, we're pretty much in summer now, but we're still waiting for the rain. When the rain comes and the grass gets long, then they will eat grass most of the time. And fruit, when they can have fruit. Their favorite time of the year is January and February, because we've got a very special fruit here that is called marula, and they love marula very much. All right, let's move a little bit now, and we can have a better look at them. Very nice elephant sighting. Ooh, I've got very good news. We're going up to the Maasai Mara in Kenya, 1,500 miles away from here, to the Vov.
Good afternoon, boys and girls. How are we doing? Welcome to the Mara Triangle. My name is Steve, and it is a wet and cold afternoon, and I'm joined on camera by Manu. And well, I hope you're having a wonderful afternoon. You've already been getting lots of information from James with regards to elephants. Well, this is the Mara Triangle. Manu's just going to put the camera across there, and you'll be able to see. Look, it's wide open spaces. We've also got our own elephants in the area. They are very, very wet. We had a huge rainfall, a thunderstorm not long ago. The ground is very wet and very muddy, and well, we're hoping we're going to find you some lions. I'm from spot 1 or 2. So we're going to go over there and see if we can show them. Would you like to see some lions? I'm sure you would. Well, we're going to show you anyway. I think they're just over there. So come on, jump on board and make sure watch lions, you sit very, very still. But we have a few shoots. Let's go all the way back down to South Africa.
Righty, sorry, I don't believe that the signal was very good there in the Maasai Mara. Hopefully we'll be able to sort that out, otherwise you're going to be staring at my ugly mug for all 45 minutes of our drive. I've left the elephants simply, well, we'll probably have one more look at them, but I want to go and see if we can't find you a leopard before you have to go off to the next class that you're going to go to. I'm not sure what it is. I hope it's fun, like art or music or something like that. Oh, I didn't even tell you who I was. I'm very sorry. That was very rude of me. My name is James. So now you know who I am. They're the elephants. They're walking off. We'll have one last look at them. Can we go to the elephants, please? Senzo? Senzo is on camera. I think the reason that we didn't go to the elephants straight away is that, of course, Senzo was very insulted that I didn't introduce him, which I should have. So, like I said, you can ask any questions you like. Tory elephants aren't endangered, no. I think that they are classified as threatened, which means that they could become endangered. Now, as far as I understand it, I keep forgetting how many there are left. I think there are about 100,000 elephants left. Now, I know that when you think about counting to 100,000, you think, gee, that's a huge number of people, a number of elephants. I mean, I can't count to 100,000. But when you think about them compared with, say, the elephants in or the number of people there are even in a very big football stadium, there are fewer elephants than you can find in some of the world's biggest football stadiums. So, I mean, that's quite scary, really. There are so many more people than there are elephants. And each year, those numbers get a little bit lower. And that's because there are just lots and lots of people in the world. Probably too many of us. And there's no space for the animals anymore. That's why we very much hope that you will enjoy being part of the wilderness and going on game drive, and through that we hope that you will in some way defend the wilderness. We've got beautiful wildernesses in the United States, and we hope that you will defend them when you are a little bit older. Kenneth, you want to know how slowly they walk? Well, you can see how slowly they walk, not very fast. Hey, they probably walk slightly faster than you think they're walking, and that's because they've got big, long strides. You can hear the wind is blowing a bit, which is fairly unusual, but of course it is quite possibly going to rain this afternoon. Maybe a little bit. We are hoping for a lot of rain sometime quite soon. Which would be great, because you can see it's very dry. There's not much green stuff there on that habitat. And that particular habitat there, of course, is called Riverine Bush, and that's because it's on the banks of a river. And it's taller and it's greener than the bush around it. This particular area here is a dam, and it's an empty dam, and that's why there's no bush growing there. Alrighty, let's move on, see if we can't find ourselves a leopard. That would be nice. Oh, Alexis, at this time of year, it can get up to, on a really hot day, it'll go up to about 108 degrees or so Fahrenheit. And then in the evening, it often doesn't drop much below 82. So you can imagine trying to sleep in 82 or 85 degrees, and there's no aircon here. I know that'll be absolutely astonishing to most of you, but there's no AC in this part of the world. I mean, some people have it, but most of us don't. And so that's very hot. And then in winter time, it gets, well, quite chilly. Not as cold as it gets where you guys live, but it drops down to round about, let's say 45 degrees Fahrenheit on the coldest day. But then even on those cool winter's days, it often gets up to around 70, 75 degrees. So it really doesn't get very cold here in winter. But it does get very hot in summer. And we're just into summer now. So it does feel quite hot when you're sitting or trying to sleep. No, Zane, we're not in the Serengeti Plains. We're in the Kruger National Park of South Africa. The Serengeti is in Tanzania, which is attached, it's very close to where you met Steve. It's very close to where Steve is, in the Maasai Mara. He's in Kenya, and just across the border to the south is Tanzania and the Serengeti. And so the Maasai Mara and the Serengeti are part of one big ecosystem. And the plains don't look like this. This is woodland. The plains are largely just grass with the odd tree sticking up, and that's called savanna or grassland, depending on how many trees you have. Now, we saw a leopard around here early this morning, and we'll see if we can't find him once again. I'll show you exactly where we left him. He looked like he was hunting earlier today, so possibly we won't find him, but we'll try. Razia, you I think that some elephants are friendly with wildebeest. Definitely not all elephants are friendly with wildebeest. They don't really have a great conversation. They don't say much to each other. And that's because, of course, wildebeest and elephant, well, they sort of, I guess, slightly compete for resources. I'm just going to drive to where we saw this leopard last this morning. He was over here. But like I say, I think he's probably moved on a bit since this morning. We'll just have a quick scan around here. So, in the Serengeti, for example, or in the Maasai Mara, where Steve is, and hopefully he'll join us again sometime this century, the wildebeest come in great numbers. They migrate in huge numbers. And then the elephants disappear into the forests, and they don't like being around all that canoeing and all the competition for grazing. And sometimes elephants will threaten things like wildebeest at water. If the elephants are very thirsty and the wildebeest are there, then the elephants might chase the wildebeest away. So sometimes they're friendly and sometimes they're not. Depends if they're competing. Let's just scan around here with the camera and see if we cannot see a little bit over here by way of leopard. Ooh, I believe there's something quite special on our dam camera. I'll tell you about it as you watch it. Alrighty, so there is a hyena having a swim. Now, of course, I would very much like to be having a swim right now because it is hot, and hyenas are one of the few predators that will actually choose to swim in order to cool down. There are lots of animals that like to sit in the mud or in the water to cool down. Elephants like to swim, buffalo like to swim, rhino like to wallow in the mud, warthogs, of course, but very few predators like to roll around in the water like that hyena is doing now. I think it looks like great fun. Don't you think it looks like fun? Jeff, they cool off in other ways by being in the shade. So they go and they walk into the shade, by drinking water, and also by panting like your dog pants. They go and that of course makes them cool. I believe this hyena sticking its face in the water and then getting a fright because it can't see anything. Well, I suppose they're not that clever at that sort of thing. So off goes the hyena, going to have a nice walk around the place. I'm afraid we didn't find our leopard, but we'll keep trying. We'll see if we can't get very lucky around here. We'll go up and check another water hole because it is, of course, very hot. And interestingly, all the predators, they don't really mind that kind of dirty green water that we had there. The hyenas and leopards and lions, they don't mind drinking dirty water. I think we've got some water buck just up ahead. There's one. A nice big bull waterbuck. He's standing in some pretty thick bush, but we might get a good picture of him. No. How's that? This is a beautiful antelope known as a waterbuck. There he is. Massive horns. He's about the size of an elk. A big elk. Isn't he lovely? And you can see he's got horns and not antlers. See him licking his nose. Look at that. Isn't that ridiculous? Imagine being able to lick your own nose. Some people can. I met somebody once. Knew a lady who could lick the top of her nose. Very bizarre. Anyway, Kaylee, you're wondering if I've ever been hurt by an animal. I have, but interestingly not by a very big animal. The worst pain I've ever had from an animal was from a scorpion. Scorpion stung me on my elbow and I was very, very sore. And I squealed and made a loud noise and probably said a few bad words that I shouldn't have. I've also been stung by bees and wasps, and that can be very painful indeed. But I've never been hurt by an animal like that beautiful waterbuck, or an elephant, or a buffalo, and that's because I'm very careful. There's always a chance that you could get hurt, but there's always a chance that you know, even if you don't live in the wild, that you can get hurt by various things. You could even just fall out of your bed or trip on a step and hurt yourself. So while the animals here are potentially dangerous, in other words, if you make them really angry they could hurt you, most of the time they just move away from human beings when we're on foot, when they see us walking, because they just don't like to be around us. When we're in the vehicle, they don't really mind us. You can see he's looking, but he's not too worried about us. He's a magnificent animal, that. He's big and he's strong, and I think that he's in very good condition. Right, well, looks like things have been sorted out in the Maasai Mara. Let's go up to David Katamba Gitu.
Well, boys and girls, welcome to me with maybe more elephants, just like what James might have showed you earlier. But these big ellies are in the Mara Triangle in Kenya. And I would guess that's a big boy. Look at the size of that elephant. And a very welcome to all of you, boys and girls. And my name is David, and on camera with me today is James. That's how James says hello. And that means a lot. Boys and girls, remember, we request you to ask as many questions as you can. I'm sure you've been told that before by Steve and James, because your questions give us a lot of joy, and you can ask us questions through your teachers. Any comments you have, like why that elephant is very big and why he's alone, please send them also through your teachers. Look at that big elephant boy there. And I'll tell you, the elephants here and those in South Africa, the ones you saw earlier, are the same. They're the same family, or we say they're the same species. And you want to know how elephants clean themselves. A few minutes ago, we had some nice showers, some nice rain. If you look at that elephant, you can see some parts look wet, or the forehead is a bit different. That's one way how they would clean themselves naturally. But also, if they need to really clean themselves, they go into rivers or into swamps or in dams, and they just roll in the water. And when they come out, they're always very clean. It's a very big boy, and you can tell boys from girls, because the boys, if you look on the forehead is a bit rounded, while the females have flat forehead. That's the only way maybe you can tell the difference between males from females for the elephants. And you see there are more elephants in the background. One difference between where we are and where James is, the Mara Triangle, it's more open. You can see a long way. Like there you can see 10 elephants or even 15 from a long way. The vegetation here is different. We have what we call the savanna. And savanna would maybe simply mean grassland. Bella, I like your question, and you want to know whether elephants and rhinos are related. And Bella, they are not related. They're in different families. They have different behaviors. They eat differently. They behave differently. So they are not related at all. They are of different families. Elephants, for example, in terms of behavior, you might see 5, 10, 20 elephants together. Rhinos in general, you'll only see 1 or 2, and especially the black rhinos. Unless you see white, where you might see, 2, 3 together. But one big difference between the two is rhinos are solitary and elephants will be in groups, just like you see here, all going together. So this one is just on the edge, and it's very near the other family members that we see on the left. Zanaya, you would like to know whether these elephants do migrate. Elephants will not migrate, but what they will do, they'll keep changing locations. For example, at the moment they are here where we are, and they're just feeding on the grass, some little plants, some little bushes, some trees. But after maybe an hour, when they have gotten enough, they're going to move to a new location. You see that one, Zanaya, is still eating? And then maybe they'll come back here after a couple of days. By the time they come back, all this grass that they have eaten or trampled on will have grown back. That's exactly what elephants do. Zanaya, the animals that do migrate are called wildebeest or wildebeest, and hopefully maybe we might see some for you today. And the zebras. Those are the animals that do migrate because they move very many miles from one area to another. Actually, they move from one country called Tanzania. They come to Kenya, and then after a couple of months, staying here in the Mara Triangle, after eating a lot of grass, they go back to that other country called Tanzania in a national park called Serengeti, where they go to give birth to their babies. And once the babies are born, they're big, they're able to walk, then they start coming back. So they keep migrating like this, clockwise and clockwise. So we want to be moving and see whether we can get closer to the elephants or whether we could see some other good animals for you apart from the elephants. And you can see he will eat, then he will stop. Let's just have one more quick look at him. Jekizanala, you'd want to know why the elephant's ears are so big. I'll tell you, the elephants use their ears to cool off. So all the blood in that big animal you see there is pumped by the heart to the ears. And once it gets to the ears, it gets cooled off. So during a hot day, you'll see elephants, they keep flapping their ears. So the bigger the ear, the better for them because more blood comes there and they will keep flapping them to cool it off. So the elephant ears are like the car radiators, or the cooling of the blood is done on the ears or in the ears. He is a big, big boy. You notice when he picks some plants, he's shaking them off to remove the soil. Marissa, good question. How many types of elephants we got here? Now, this one that we are watching now is called the Savannah elephant. Is only one species. This one is called the Savannah elephant, and we have another type, but the same species that will always stay in the forest that we call the forest elephant. Slightly bit smaller than what you're watching now, but they are all the same. It's only one species, and they're not any different. You go to South Africa, you still see the same species of elephant. You could only see a subrace or a little different one that I'm saying is called the forest elephant that will always live in the forests, and they're slightly bit smaller in size than this big one that you see here that's called the Savannah elephant. You see, he keep opening the ears a little bit just to cool off. But now after the rains, the temperatures here have gone down, so it doesn't keep flapping the ears. He is such a huge boy. So he'll uproot the grass, and if the grass or the plant he uproots have any soil, he shakes a little bit just to remove the soil, then straight to the mouth. If you walk to an elephant, it might hurt you because they are so big, and what we try to do is to keep a distance. And so long as you stay in the car, you are fine. But when you get so close and they don't get, or they're not very comfortable with you, they might hurt you. And elephants, Evie, are very strong animals. When you see one shaking, his tail like that, it just shows he is happy. And if not, you'll see him just trying to turn or twist the tail in a particular way and making it stiff. If you stay in the car and you keep your voice low and you just watch it, all goes well. Sometimes they'll just move, stop and listen, and then they just continue grazing. And apart from the grass, I'm sure James might have mentioned to you, they'll also eat leaves and flowers. Glory, you want to know how strong are the elephants? Elephants are very strong. If you see the car I'm in and they get upset with me, using their trunk, they can push the car. So what we try to do, we keep a distance from them and we don't get very close. And should we see them wanting to come close to us, we'll always move away to respect them. And what we do is to read their body language. And you can see when an elephant is getting upset and he changes his behavior. They open their ears and they tend to come towards you. Alrighty, thank you for the Mr. Elephant. Very good show we had with him, and we need now to move on and we go look for something else for you boys and girls. So we're going to be moving, maybe if you're lucky to see some lions or maybe cheetahs or something like that. But in the meantime, I think James is working hard to look for something for you.
Well, we are trying to work hard, everybody, and we haven't found a leopard, but we have found a very interesting bird. All birds are very interesting, of course, and that one is quite interesting because it's above that one. There we go. It's called a Birchall starling. And can you see how its feathers are blowing? And that's because we've got a very strong wind here. There's a storm raging somewhere close to here, and that bird is trying desperately to hold on to its perch. Now, I say it's interesting because at this time of the year, of course, all the birds are thinking about breeding. They're thinking about making more birds. And I think that you'll find that that bird is sitting there because there is a nest in this dead tree. Now, the nest is a hole in the tree for the Birchall starling, and you might even find that this call is trying to attract a mate. So he's going, "Look, look, look, look." You might just be able to hear him. And I think he's hoping that he's picked a good tree, and maybe a female Birchall starling will come here and select him as her husband. So that would be quite nice. It's a very odd afternoon's weather, this. Swirling wind and trees waving all over the place. Layla, wild animals are definitely protective of their young, depending on which wild animals you look at. So, for example, lions and leopards and hyenas are very protective of their young. Birds probably also very protective of their young, depending on the bird. I'm not sure so much about the Birchall starling, but many birds will try and attack predators that seek to harm their babies. But things like reptiles don't look after their babies. A lot of the frogs, of course, don't look after their young. They just lay their eggs and then leave them. So it really does depend which animals you're talking about. Okay, our Birchall starling has disappeared now. Let's carry on and see what else we can find. I'm going to go down to a place where I think that there may have been some wild dogs earlier today. And wild dogs are like the wolves of Africa. They don't look anything like wolves. You can see they're dogs, but they don't look like wolves. They look basically like Mickey Mouse with their ears. And they've got quite soft, gentle faces, but they're not very gentle when they're hunting. So we'll see if we can find those. Or whatever else comes along the way. There's a little bit of rain, so we just have to be careful of that. We don't want to get anything wet, because water and technology just do not mix very well at all. Horrible, nasty wind blowing. And some of the trees are still not showing any signs of growing their green. Ooh, I don't know what's going on now. I think we're going up to the Mara. I think we're going to see some lions. I'm not really sure.
Well, welcome back. We've been trying to show you some wonderful animals, but we've having some technical issues there. On the mountain you can see some African or Cape buffalo. Uh-oh, what's that in the front? We've got two young lions. I promised you some lions, and here they are 5 minutes before you leave us. So there they are, two youngsters. They're having a bit of a cat nap. You can see the spots on the leg of that one on the left, can't you? Just evidence that they once looked very much like a leopard. But they've got, sitting on top of this mound, looking in the distance. They're too young to catch a buffalo on their own. These are two lions of the Olololo pride. Olololo means serpentine or snake-like, and it's named after the mountain, in fact, in the background. And there are 17 lions in this pride. The rest of them are somewhere else. We're not 100% sure. All over the place, I think. But these two, well, I think they got a bit wet because it rained. Huge amounts of rain fell on our heads not so long ago. I think they're trying to just get dry by sitting there and having a nap. That's what you do. Hello, Ty. You want to know what lions eat? Well, if they showed you their teeth, you'd be...
Sorry about that. I think Steve should probably go home, take the afternoon off. He's probably doing that anyway. Well, his camera is certainly taking the afternoon off. I'm sorry about that. Hopefully David will find you some lions now. And maybe Steve will go home and fetch a camera that works. I think that's probably the best idea. We are now trying to find the wild dogs, but whatever else we come across we will look at and enjoy. You don't have very long left of your school safari. I will show you something quite interesting from a, I suppose, a habitat point of view, but more a landscape point of view. Where can I stop that it's going to be effective? Let me just try and show you. Every time I think about stopping, a bush gets in the way. No, I think I've gone too low down. What I want to show you is the mountains off to the west. They are the Drakensberg Mountains, and they represent an entirely different habitat from the one that we're in over here. There we go, you can see them from here. You see those big mountains over there, Senzel? Is that all right? Sort of. So those mountains there, in the background of the Drakensberg Mountains, very ancient, and they stretch about 600 miles down the escarpment of South Africa. And the habitat up there is very different from that down here. It's much cooler. There's a lot more grassland, much less woodland. And then on the actual slopes of the mountain, you'll find forest, which in South Africa is not very common. Forest, of course, is just big trees and lots of water. Whereas here, it never gets very wet. So we've got this hardwood, broad-leafed woodland. Very nice. Can you believe it? David Gatamba Gitu is very clever indeed. He's managed to find you not only an elephant, but also some lions.
Well, boys and girls, we got some lions here which might have brought down a zebra. I'm trying to guess, maybe it was 2 hours ago. And you should not be worried, because what happens, the lions are carnivores, and saying they're carnivores, carnivores are animals that eat meat. And of course, these lions need to survive. So this was a zebra, and there's nothing to worry or to feel sorry for the zebra, because we still have so many zebras remaining. And depending on the size of the lion pride, a pride is a group of lions, they will decide or they choose what to hunt. If it's a big pride or big group of lions, sometimes they get something big like a buffalo or a giraffe. If it's a small group, then they'll get something small like a zebra. So these lions here are called the olololos. We are always living in the bush, and we follow them almost every day, and we know who they are, or we can tell one group from the other. Remember, boys and girls, should you have any questions, please ask through your teachers. Should you have any comments, please do the same. So they'll pause a bit after eating so much, and then continue eating. And if you look carefully to the left, there are 1, 2, 3 more lions. And definitely, my guess is these ones must have eaten earlier. And that's the elephant that we were watching before, boys and girls. And you see how beautiful it goes out here in the bush? Lions on one side, elephants on the other side. So these ones are very sleepy because they have eaten. Christo, that's a very interesting question. I would say it's not safe to touch a lion, because if you do, the lion will not be very happy. And the lion might be upset and decide maybe to give you a big scratch, because lions got very big and very long claws. So not a lion, not an elephant. And we usually try, look at that one just turning around because she is so full. So we usually try and not touch any wild animal, because even the small ones like the warthogs or small antelopes, when you touch them and they try to flee or run away from you, they might hurt you with their horns. So it's not safe to touch any animal. You notice how they blend in very well, and I think everybody now is full. Oh no, there's still one more eating. And the ones that ate earlier, they sleep. Lions tend to sleep a lot, and that will apply to both males and females. But sometimes the boys, which I'm calling males, and the girls, which I'm calling females, the boys sleep more. All right, let's get across to South Africa, and James, maybe have a bird for you, boys and girls.
We've got something very cute indeed over there. It's a special kind of an owl. And that special kind of an owl is a pearl-spotted owl. A pearl-spotted owl. Tiny, tiny little owl. Only about 3 inches long. He's a very angry owl too. He just looks so very cross all the time, don't you think? Now, when we got here, there was another bird with him, a black bird called a fork-tailed drongo. And the fork-tailed drongo is a very interesting bird, because although this owl could eat him, he gets so very angry to be surrounded by predators that he sits and will often chase off the owl. The drongo's moved off. Kaylee, what I love best about my job is the ability to wake up in a beautiful place every single morning and watch the sunrise and then be at work again and watch the sun go down. And it's very, very pretty, that, and I'm very, very blessed to be able to do it. As a bonus, there are all the beautiful animals I see every day. Now I'm just going to see if I can make this bird call to us. Are you ready? Here we go. There, listen. See? And he's only calling because I whistled at him. There are very, very few birds that you can make do that. So what he thinks is that there's another owl in his territory. He just can't see it. And so he'll be looking around very angry. All right, guys at school, I hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day there. Don't worry, school won't last forever. One day you will be able to come out here of your own choice and spend some time in Africa, which will be very special. Have a good day. We'll see you next time. Good afternoon, everybody else, now on the normal safari. Welcome. Marvellous to have you with us here. My name is James Henry, as you will know probably, I think, if you are a new viewer. Well, this is who I am. Wonderful. We've got Senzo on camera. Those are his 3 fingers. He does have 5 on that hand, but chooses only to show you 3 of them. Please talk to us, of course, using the hashtag #SafariLive on Twitter. Otherwise, you may use the chat stream on YouTube. Let's go back to the Pearl Spotty Owl. I also have Oli on the back of the car, and so we may see him a little bit later on. Oli, a trainee of ours, doing a marvellous job. Aren't you, Oli? Depending on what we see. So that is the beautiful pearl-spotted owlet. Packs a punch far in excess of its size. If ever there was room to use the dreadful cliche, dynamite comes in small packages, well, it was there. Now, while it is largely an insect eater, it is also a bold hunter of, and I quote, rodents, bats, lizards, snakes and birds. And in fact, I have seen one of them carrying a brown-hooded kingfisher. Now that's quite something, because the mass of that bird is just 76 grams. So I've got no idea what that is in imperial measure. But it is 76 grams, and the brown-hooded kingfisher, I think, probably weighs slightly more than that, actually. The brown-hooded kingfisher weighs 60 grams, slightly less. So just a 16-gram difference, and that vicious little owl managed to carry away a brown-hooded kingfisher and then devour it. I don't suppose, like many owls, it swallowed its prey whole that day. I think that would have been impossible. I also don't know where this rain has gone. It's a very odd, kind of swirling storm that hasn't hit us. Rosalind, the spotted owl understands the call because it's, you know, they go to school quite early. As we know, owls are very wise, and they spend a lot of time at school. And so when they come out of school, they are obviously able to make owl calls and understand each other's calls. Rosalind, that's obviously a sarcastic answer. The main reason, how are they able to understand calls? The same as any other bird. They are almost universally born with it. They are born with an instinctual understanding of each other's calls. And while that is quite mysterious, it's no more mysterious than, for example, birds that just know how to migrate. They never have to be taught. The cuckoos are a beautiful example of birds that never have to be taught the route to migrate, because they don't even actually ever meet their parents. So no one ever teaches the Le Vaillant's cuckoo where to go after it's grown up with its babbler family. Because babblers don't migrate. And so it is with most birds' calls. They don't have to be taught how to make them. They make them automatically, and they understand them automatically, which is amazing. I suppose it's a little bit like human beings. Human beings, of course, have a language center. We know how to... we don't know how to speak, but we have the capacity to speak. We don't know what language we're going to speak when we are born, but all of us have the capacity for a language or two. Alrighty, let's go back up to the Maasai Mara. I don't hold out much hope, but let's see if Steve's new camera manages to deliver more than 3 seconds of the show this time round.
Hopefully you will stay with us for a little while, folks. I'm sorry about all the technical issues that are plaguing us at the moment. But we are still with these two young olololos, and they're not far from a couple of the other members that I think David is with behind us there. We did see them on the way down, but they had their head stuck in the middle of a zebra's belly, and well, we don't want to show that on the school drive because it's a little bit gory. So we thought, let's come over here and do the two very tame looking, well-fed young lions that, well, are looking very interested. They're looking in the direction of the other lions, but yet they're not interested in going over, which is quite bizarre. They've probably had their food. Difficult to say, really. But the one on the right is the one I was talking about last night. She's a very pale lioness, and very pale in colour. It's just a genetic trait, really. Just hair colour in humans, I suppose. Maybe her mum or one of the dads. A bit of a genetic colour variation. Not a white lion. White lions, well, they are very, very pale indeed. But these are two of the younger members of the Olololo pride. Young male on the left and young female on the right. And well, they're very close knit together. Probably a little bit outcast from the bigger ones. A little bit too much competition when it comes to feeding. Especially with the bigger boys. It's not easy competing with bigger boys. I know, as a youngster I grew up with a bigger brother. It was very hard work, I must say. Everyone out there who had a bigger brother will probably agree with me. They're always just stronger than you for a long time, aren't they? Albeit a very handsome pair of cats. Very, very handsome, aren't they? And they're giving us some wonderful shots right here. I asked Justin, who's our Scary this evening, if he wouldn't mind going and just chopping that little branch there that's in front of the lions. I was trying to take a photo, and well, he said he might end up being dinner. I said, nonsense, they're too small, they wouldn't try and eat you. Very joking, folks, we wouldn't do that. Ooh, what did you hear? You see their heads both turn in a direction at the same time. They heard something that is completely below our ear frequency. Very good. So they're probably sitting on top of this wall, because this is actually, we're close to a big gravel pit that they do a lot of digging here to get all the sort of nice, sort of not too muddy sort of soil or gravel, should I say, for the roads. And so it's actually quite nice up top there where they're sitting. It's not too muddy underfoot, and very muddy on the way in here. I actually saw some of the tracks of those lions. They're probably hunting during the rain, slipping and sliding all over the place in the wet. It's not ideal. Most herbivore animals will actually come up onto the slopes to avoid slipping and sliding in the wet. Oh, it's time for a nap. Isn't that a picture? Very, very cute. Taking comfort in each other's company. But I am really surprised they haven't gone over to join in the festivities. Not far away at all. Not even 100 meters. For lions, it's a very short distance. Maybe they got some food last night. These two individuals were with one of the lioness just down the road here as we were ending the show. She probably caught something. We heard them hunting all night, really. Donald, do you think these two are going to start their own pride? Well, a little bit young, but that is how it starts, a male and a female. They're a bit young, though. They're on the younger spectrum. But it is indeed how a pride starts, with one male and one female. I think they got a bit wet, and maybe they're a bit tired after a long night. We heard them because our camp is just up the top of the hill. I heard zebras shouting their displeasure all night long. We heard lions roaring this morning. I don't know if the olololas would have called to the night after catching anything, but when these two did move, they did look like they've been well fed at some point. Very pretty eyes. Intense. You see the pupil in the middle. Very small now because the light is still available, but as soon as the light fades, that pupil completely covers the entire iris of the eye. Mrs. Lapwing, you broke your screenshot button. What a pity. Well, I'm sure others will take some screenshots and post them for you, but you need to get that fixed. I'm sure there's going to be lots more to screenshot today and in the coming weeks, no doubt. Little bit sleepy. It's hard work being a lion, really is. Really is. The trials and tribulations of moving around in search of food. They don't have much else to do except drink and eat. Defend their territory. Not too much worries these little youngsters. It's the adults that do most of the work. They walk around and get fed. Not too much in the way of hunting. We saw an attempt on a warthog last night, and well, it wasn't a very good one. But invariably, as we've said many times, lions have only got 20% sort of success rate. Sorry, I just got a bit of your question there from Nancy. How many lions? If it's how many in this pride, it's 17 in this pride, if that's what Nancy asked. So Nancy, you want to know how many lions as one zebra would feed? Well, if it's an adult zebra, you're looking at about 300 kilograms, so somewhere around 600 pounds. So really, you work it out, an average lion can feed on apparently a fifth of its body weight. So these individuals here are not fully grown, but if we work on the adult lionesses, let's work on that just to make it easier. An adult lioness weighs about 140 kilograms, so say close to 300 pounds. So 1/5 of that. My maths is now going to do me a disservice. But, 4 or 5 lions would quite easily eat a zebra. But when they're 17, they'll have to eat 2 or 3 zebra. So my maths is not working in my head, but let's say 150, which means that 1/5 of... It's not my day for maths, I'm afraid, Nancy. But definitely one zebra would be eaten by the pride, and they would be okay. But a zebra is equivalently a little bit bigger than a wildebeest, just in weight. And while we were finding this pride with 5 wildebeest at a time, 2 wildebeest and 3 wildebeest, so they will catch as much as they need to. So one zebra doesn't really go that far in a pride of 17. I've spent time with a pride of 20 that we found them in the evening with the zebra. They then woke up and killed the wildebeest, and then that same evening they killed 4 impala, and it seems to not even touch sides. With the olololo pride, with these growing males, the young males are almost the same weight as the females, so they're going to be taking their lion's share of the meal, so 1/5 of their body weight for them. So a good 20 to 30 kilograms, so probably 40 to 60 pounds of meat each of these youngsters will be able to eat in a sitting. So 5 lions into 8 lions into 300 kilograms. It's a lot of meat. It's a lot of meat, but lions will eat themselves until they pop. And that's why they'll hunt again and again and again if need be, and most of the animals have moved, but there are still a number of them around. But anyway, we're going to see what these lions get up to, and in the meantime, let's go all the way back down to South Africa with Mr. James Hendry.
Yes, back with us. We are on Mamba Loop. That is a road that is near the southern boundary, heading towards the great Umalawamati River. And we are hoping to find some wild doggies here. Now, we had the Investec pack this morning. 4 adults, now only 4 pups, unfortunately. I don't know where the rest have gone. It's not unusual, of course, for them to die quite frequently. This is a very inconvenient little roadblock that we have here. Do we have a machete? We do. I will now demonstrate the incorrect machete chopping technique. I'm not very good with the machete. I may have to enlist the help of Paulie, and the black monkey thorn that I'm going to chop eventually basically, cuts into me until I squeal and swear loudly. I'm just going to have to go around the back of the car. Paulie, you don't have to do it yet. Only when I hurt myself and then lie on the ground in agony. Now, there's a technique to doing this that I have not mastered yet. Let me just get some nasties out the way. Are you ready? Sideways, sideways, sideways. The trick is hitting it in the same place, you see. Not too bad. Should be able to get through it in about 2 shots. And it's round about this point that I lose my temper. Ha! I think that's what it feels like to be an elephant. Just a bit more efficient. The elephant, I mean. Oh, it's very satisfying, I must say. It just really gets the blood going. Any irritation you were feeling is gone. A sense of great manliness overcomes one. Woof. Very good. Okay, on we go. That is Senegalia burkii, the black monkey thorn. Ollie, please don't ever do that while you're live. That was just an example of what not to do. Now, I came down this road because I saw wild dogs here in this very place before, and although my intellect tells me that it's highly unlikely to find them in the same place twice, I just couldn't bring myself not to come down here and look in exactly the same place twice. Let's just have a quick look at the sky, which is, well, very dark, and dare I use the enormously overused word ominous. Very ominous. Can't actually see what I'm looking at. Ah, yes, good. Very ominous. So I'm not sure that this was on any weather forecast that I read. I don't think it was. Maybe it'll hit us. It's certainly a big northwest storm. What do you think, Senzo?
It's wild dog.
A wild dog? Oh, I see. You see, you've picked up the picture of a wild dog in the clouds, have you? Well done. But I don't see it myself. I mean, oh, you mean it's a wild dog about to bite something? Yes, very good. Senzo has spotted a wild dog biting something in the sky. It's very, very impressive indeed. There we go. Emma, who's directing today, says there are wild dogs we can go home. Fantastic. Well, thanks everybody. It's been a great drive. See ya. I'm joking. I'm going to continue looking for actual wild dogs while you go back up to the Mara and see David with some lions.
Well, James Henry, very well done, and I wish you the very best, because if you get wild dogs, you're going to make me a very happy man today. But now, this youngster here is just playing with this zebra. Either he's so happy after they made this kill, and for those who have never joined us before, we have the Olorolo Pride of Lions. These are the Olorolos, and I've counted about 5 youngsters, all males. And I would want to believe they brought down this zebra, and I'm estimating could have been about 3 hours up to now. So you can see the rest of the members of the Olorolo just lying down there, just turning around and having a few pounds of meat or flesh in their tummies. Remember, this is a very interactive safari. Should you have any questions or comments, you may send them through using hashtag Safari Live. James, what's that? There's that brown, if you move before you go there, there's that, were they lungs? Let me see there. Just, I don't know what that is. They look like lungs to me. James, do you agree? Yes, James agrees with me, those are lungs. And they're always part of the soft tissues, but more often than not, we have seen cats trying to avoid eating that. But if these were wild dogs, like what James is looking for, so we have 2 Jameses here. One is the guide in South Africa, in Juma, and the other James, the camera operator with me today. If the wild dogs or hyenas, that would not be lying there. They would have devoured it way, way long time ago. Lions eating almost anything between 15 to 20% of their body weight in any given sitting. And you can see they have cleaned the head, and they'll always start with the eyes, the ears, and the tongue is gone, as much as that zebra still is smiling. And should you be a bit squeamish, maybe I might request you not to watch this. But again, it's how things play out here in the place. You can see he's trying to open up around the neck area and pushing the leg up. So they always first try to marinate the skin to be able to penetrate, because lions do not have chewing teeth. They are only able to cut. So you will see him doing that, just pulling off and then just swallow chunks of meat. Their teeth are not designed to chew, but just to cut. If anything, they can just shear a bit of meat, and that will happen to most cats. Hyenas the same, or wild dogs the same. In the morning, they tried to do 2 kills, and they were not very successful. One of them was an eland, and the other one was a warthog. And I think this time, I would say, 3rd time lucky. So funny, because if, James, you go to the left, you see that elephant there. That elephant passed very close. James first wants us to watch this. Thank you, James. Mila, as I'm showing you that elephant, they're saying it passed very close to these lions, and they were not bothered. And the elephant also did not worry about them. Well, we say normally lions will sleep anything between 15 to 20 hours. And more so the males. The males tend to sleep a little longer than the females. But I found out of experience, and I'm sure James might agree with me, if females have the same conditions like the males, I'm talking of having enough to eat, enough to drink, the right bedding place, they would sleep equally as much. But we have always thought lions, or the males, sleep more. But I believe also the lionesses would sleep equally same time. Very good question there, Amila. So all these are youngsters, and there are 5 of them from the Ololo Pride. And the Ololo lions, when they are all together, they are 16. Very many boys in the pride. Now, I'll sit here a few more minutes and maybe hope the other 4 youngsters will come and join in the party. But in the meantime, we'll take you close to Steve, who got a different animal.
Well, David, I wonder if you can see the giraffe, because he's kind of looking directly towards you and your lions that are eating the zebra. And he's kind of making his way up the mountain and going, okay, well, I'm not scared. I just counted. There's only 5. That's okay. Still moving in the direction. You can see there's a rainstorm all over the other side of the Mara there. So we've been watching it move. It hit us earlier in camp. It was quite a thing. Poured down for about 20 minutes, and then it just vanished. It was really cool. You see how the giraffe is dwarfed by the trees. You can see how the trees themselves are just out of reach of the giraffe. Almost that browsing height has been, or that browse line has been created by the tallness of the giraffe's head. And whenever a branch does reach down lower, well, it gets trimmed very quickly. Not many trees you see in Djuma that have got browse completely out of the reach of giraffe. Goes to show how many giraffe we have up here versus the tree line. Oh, there we go. That was a sooty chat, I believe. Female sooty chat. Was he calling? The male is black with a white bar on his wing. Oh, I know why she was alarm calling. It was actually an alarm call. A falcon just flew over her head. Hopefully it'll come back again. Very hard to capture falcons moving when they're flying. Giraffe girl, this is about as iconic a Mara scene as they get. And, well, these lions are looking straight through me to that giraffe. They're looking at me going, I've had one of them before. They've both got a very different little sort of look on their face as they've been watching the giraffe. The one on the left, the male, his chin is a bit more up, and the female on the right, her chin is a bit more down. A very different facial expression as they look at their potential dinner. But hopefully they're going to get up and maybe chase it just for some fun. I doubt these two will be able to catch that giraffe. But nonetheless, the giraffe is making a headway all the way towards Mr. David Gitu and his Olololo section. But very likely those animals are way too full to be... Oh, there we go. There's a falcon. Let's see if we can identify it. I thought I spotted it before and it looked like an Eleanor's, which is very, very... Yes, it did. I don't know if you saw it. There's got a sort of streaky chest. Brown and streaky chest. Down in South Africa, I've seen an Eleanor's falcon once in my life. Once. And they don't commonly occur down there. I spotted one yesterday. Eleanor's falcon. There's only one. I'll show you in my app here. There's only one falcon that looks like the Eleanor's. Lovely name, isn't it? Very mobile bird. There we go. There's they're not that common down south, so there's not that many photos, but you can see the typical falcon flight pattern, and the chest is brown with those black streaks, and obviously the white chin. I'll show you a picture. Sorry, Manu. I'll show you a picture. There is one sitting, but there's only one falcon that looks like that, and that is a very special bird down in South Africa. Up here, I've seen it a couple times, obviously not as special from a list. Josh, you want to know if the giraffe up here get the same sort of size? I think weight-wise, they're equivalently very, very similar. I don't think there's too much in the difference with regards to size and weight. I don't know if one of the giraffe species out of the 9 subspecies is bigger than the others, but there might be slight changes in size and weight due to geographical distribution and maybe diet. The abundance of certain food, but I'm really not sure. But a very good question. But I think equivalently they're very, very similar, just like the lions up here. Wouldn't be too much in the difference in weight. Lions in the sort of desert lions, they get a little bit bigger due to the environment they live in, much drier climate, and they need to take down big prey, sometimes on their own. So the Kalahari lions are bigger than the Savannah lions. Excuse me, I think I swallowed a bug there. Oh, there's a furball coming. There's a furball coming. Be careful. Be careful if you're sensitive to vomit. Be careful, because there might be a little bit of vomit coming. Callie, you want to know why they have spots when they're young? It's maybe for the purpose of a bit of camera. Money, you're doing a great job. Oh, I can't watch. Oh, no. Oh, I'm sensitive to that. Oh, Money. Okay, I did warn you all. I warned myself. But, Manu is giggling in the background. Oh no, that was horrible. That was horrible. Okay, I was talking about spots. Yes. So the spots kind of are sort of a remnants of these cats once being part of a sort of forested environment like the leopard and the jaguar. The lions evolved from something that was very similar to a leopard into the open plains specialists that they are, and the spots that they have are kind of like a remnants of that, and it's more prevalent on the cubs because, well, they still get secreted away in little bushes and hideaways, so the spots still add a bit of camouflage, and as they get older they kind of fade away, although you do still see them on the adults. Oh, it's time to get up. You'll still see them on the adults, but they've been faded as if they've been washed somewhat. But it's a good ID feature to see youngsters. They often have got quite nice spots on the back of the legs. Definitely these two are going to be getting up soon because they've both yawned and they're still staring at the giraffe that's moved. So I might turn around, Manu, see if we can maybe see what the rest of the pride is doing, and see if maybe these two are going to get up. But they've just spotted giraffe and they're not doing too much in the way of moving towards him. Just bear with me while I do a little bit of a turnaround. Okay, well, while we turn around, we're going to jump just over there to Mr. Gitu, who is with more members of this pride.
Very good, Steve. And of late, we have been very lucky. We are seeing lions almost every day and different prides. Now, the same youngster that was eating is still on the zebra, and this is the one that may qualify to the 20% mark of the body weight because it's almost half an hour. He has been eating, has opened up the chest. Initially, he was using his tongue just to soften the skin, or what sometimes we do back at home to marinate the meat, just to make it soft. So once they do that using their tongues, it becomes a bit soft. Most cats got very rough tongues, and they're like small little sharp blades, which they use first to remove, I would say, or shave the part of the skin and remove the fur, and then they dig in using their canines, opening up the flesh, and then they're just able to keep cutting and pulling off as much as they can be able to put in the mouth. You can just hear him just tear the meat, maybe getting a bit of cartilages. I'm not sure we have any cartilages at that area. Chris, good question. Do lions sometimes lie on their back to digest the food faster? I do not know. I would say I highly doubt that. And most likely the food, because of gravity, might maybe tilt towards the throat. So chances are they would just lay on their tummies, and by so doing, they do a better digestion. Oops, there's one just lowering there on the other side. Maybe, Chris, you have a point. You know, but what I found out, even when they have not eaten, they also tend to lie on their backs. But you might have a point there, Chris. What I've known for a fact is when lions mate, The female will always roll around and lay on her back, but maybe not when eating food. I doubt that might help, because chances are the meat may come maybe out backwards towards the throat, as much as, unlike other food, the flesh is very solid. See how sleepy and flat these youngsters are? You can just see them slowly breathing, and of course digestion taking place, needing lots of enzymes to break the meat, because lions do not chew the meat like most carnivores would not be able to. So what they do, they bring in the enzymes, and I would guess a lot of digest juices, just to help just break it. And that's why, because breaking of the flesh from what lions eat is not very efficient. If you see them dropping the poop, it's always a bit reddish. If you look very carefully, when it's so fresh, it's a bit reddish, indicating that they don't break it very well. And it's very solid and black in color, and you can always tell the poo from cats just like that by the color, because they have a lot of blood and a lot of clotting. Now we're going to go back to this youngster that's sitting, but before we do that, James, look at the horizon and tell me what you see, James. Yes, are you able to catch some rain for us? Are you able to show us some rain from the background? Or that's the best you can do? If you can be able to pan the rain, I'm seeing some massive, or a very big wall of rain in the background there. Yeah, apologies because of my head. And a huge wall of rain. And I'm talking about the short rains, but I'll not be surprised if we get heavier rains than what we normally get yearly. They are rather late to me. They should have been here by, I would say, there's a kind of background there. By October, they did not come. And now we are like going to the end of November. And this time around, you're seeing signs of rains coming. We have two rainy seasons in Kenya, long rains and short rains. Long rains, we are talking of the months of May, June, July, and short rains October, November, and sometimes around Christmas. But the weather pattern here in Kenya the last 5 years have been very erratic, and this youngster or male lion is not bothered. Keep eating. I'll tell you bon appetit. Enjoy your dinner. But I think Steve's lions could be up and about.
They are indeed. They're still staring down the valley. Not interested in zebra, it seems. Maybe they're going to catch something for themselves. I'm super surprised they haven't actually gone. Oh, Manu, sorry, Manu, you can't get that, eh? That falcon is chasing a bird. Oh! Oh! Can you get it? Just gonna... We got him. There it goes. He was chasing a bird there. He missed it. If it is indeed Eleanor's falcon, there's little known about them in South Africa because they're just a rare vagrant, actually. Breeding up in Morocco and Cyprus and Canary Islands, and coming down and actually spending time in Madagascar, North Africa, East Africa. And they believe they catch most of their insects, just insects on the wing. But there we saw what seemed to be a falcon trying to catch a bird. So very interesting if it was indeed the same bird. We've seen a couple birds flying around right now, but it's very hard to say. But anyway, something that would catch, not birds really, but things on the ground. We are still with two of the youngest members of the Olololo pride. And well, they haven't done too much. Romit, when we went out, it was about 17 degrees Celsius, so that's about 63 degrees Fahrenheit, so that is pretty much the same temperature when we start our sunrise safari, and that is primarily due to the rain that pooled in, a really nice downpour, and it's led to rather sort of chilly conditions. We came out with our jackets on, which is all to do with the temperature. But a wonderful evening nonetheless, and as David says, the rains are coming late. Hopefully evidence of climate change being viewed here. And what it does is it will provide a later grazing. It's seemingly, because it hasn't rained down in Tanzania, the wildebeest have decided to come back. I haven't been down south again since seeing them the other day. But if the migration does a bit of a backward turn, well, very good for the lions, who this time of year invariably will be, especially the olololos, will be feeding a lot on warthog, some remnants of the buffalo populations that hang around, the giraffes if they can catch them, and any of the other grazers that are hanging around in the marsh. The question I had yesterday is, how are the olololos so successful? And they are indeed doing very, very well. It's due to all the abundance of the food that they're finding in this area. And every morning and every night we come up and down this road up to our camp, and there's an abundance of zebra, and generally always buffalo, and always giraffe around. So definitely seemingly the importance of the pride reaching a nice big number of 17. We want to be able to catch the big animals, and the big animals provide enough meat for enough animals. So indeed, it is not only lions sitting around here in the Mara, and we have elephants all over the place, and James down in South Africa has found some of his own.
We've got some lovely elephants here. I was looking for the wild dogs, but there's just the most beautiful light in this riverine forest. We have spectacular little arrangement of elephants and tambuti trees, and of course in the background a very blacking grey sky, which makes for a tremendous kind of atmosphere. Isn't that nice? Gorgeous. They were feeding right next to us for a little while, and now they've crossed off into the bush. Okay, we're going to continue along here. I'll tell you why we're in the riverbed. The dogs were last seen heading down into this way, and in this way, and they crossed over, and they didn't pop out the other side as far as we can tell. So I'm wondering if perhaps they didn't kill something in here and maybe lying in the riverbed this afternoon. Well, time will tell, I suppose. I had to do a little bit of recording of a promotional thing for our SABC shows now, and you don't realize how much elephants move until you expect them to stand still. They just refuse. There we go. There's a funny little one over there. He's not particularly pleased to see us, but he'll go and join his mum and then hopefully gain a bit more confidence. Very beautiful indeed. Nice and calm and golden. So I think we'll just sit here and see if we don't hear anything. It's round about the time that the dogs would start kind of waking up, I suppose. And also, we do have the option of going to search for hosana. It'd be nice to see. We might come and have a drink. Leopard colours juxtaposed with the grey background would be very nice. There's the big elephant foot. There is some thunder in the background too. Ah, a cow. Well done, Senzo. So that is, of course, an elephant cow. They have what we call pectoral mammae. I mean, you may as well say boobs, really, because they look so human. And it's one of the most, I suppose, incongruous characteristics, because I think it's only elephants and primates that have their mammary glands in that area. And it really just looks very incongruous indeed for an elephant. But that's what it is, and it's the best and most reliable way I find to find the gender of an elephant. So, because even if they're not lactating, the females will show a swelling in that region. It's rather eerie with the grey sky and the of the thunder in the background. I always find these summer storms so exciting. I think everyone does, really. But I grew up in Johannesburg, where they were a really nice kind of cleansing afternoon shower in the summer months. This poor cow has really got a bit of a nasty ear rip. You see that, Senzo? And that's most likely from thorns and that sort of thing. Nasty little tear, which I'm sure was quite painful when it happened, but I'm sure it doesn't affect her anymore. You might just be able to hear the wind blowing through the trees around us. Yeah, Chris, it's quite a similar sound, the rumble of the thunder and the elephants, but I am pretty sure, yes, because it's coming from a long way away, and if I ever found an elephant that can make a noise that loud, I think it'd be time to turn around and go home and climb under my bed. Lovely look at their skin. I was asked the other day, why do they have such wrinkly skin? And it's one of those things that I've overlooked learning, of course, which is ridiculous. And my regular knowledge saviour, Judy H., posted an article, not difficult to find, really, if I'd bothered. And it was a Nat Geo article on wrinkly skin. And the wrinkly skin does help them, we think, to stay cool. And it does that by trapping a little bit of moisture in the skin, and that of course would help the body to cool a little bit. There are a few animals with wrinkly skin. They went on to naked mole rats as well, and they have wrinkly skin quite possibly for different reasons. They don't need so much, they never see the light of day, you see, so they don't need hair underground. And if you want to see a picture of a really bizarre looking creature, go and Google yourself a picture of a naked mole rat. It looks like a naked mole, but a bit like a rat. Alrighty, I'm going to continue up here, see if we can find the dogs. Let's go back to David, who is in the rain, I suspect, about to pour himself a cup of chai.
Well, the storms have gotten us. I was talking about the short trains, but from what I feel, these don't sound like short trains. They feel like the long rains. Now, we got an eagle there, and from what I can gather, not very clear. James, we are already on IR, right? Yes, James tells me we are on infrared, and I'm sure we all know infrared helps us not to influence the wild animals that we show you. This eagle, I guess, is a snake eagle, because when you look at snake eagles, when they perch, they tend to stay like 90 degrees from their perching point. So my good guess, she is a snake eagle, and you can see she's trying to bring out her feathers just because of the storm. It's raining at the moment. And very vaguely you can see the beak is very hooked, because most snake eagles got hooked beaks to be able to rip flesh. Not very far from where the lions are, but I think she got nothing to do with the lions and the zebra kill. They basically eat snakes, and this is a black-chested snake eagle. You might see clearly that the feet or the legs of it are quite clear, and they do not have, they look like sticks. they do not have any feathers. They're not covered. Most eagles, I would say, they got booted tarsi, but for the snake eagles, they're bare. They don't have any feathers on their feet. Not sure the reason why. Maybe making it easier for them to kill snakes or whatever they bring down. Big round heads they got, and very bright yellow eyes. Of course, we cannot see that in infrared, but at least you can see the angle she is patching and the hooked beak, which is like a very sharp dagger to tear or rip the flesh. Sinak are the lions active in the lane, and I looked from a distance Sinak, the lion that was eating, the male that was eating, and he is not bothered. He is still at the same spot and still eating. They may slow down a little bit because they will hold so much water on their fur, but it does not affect them. And Sinak have seen lions hunting in the rain, because when the rain will confuse prey and they are trying to look for some shelter, lions, with time have learned that, and they take advantage of that and they go hunting. So of course, if they have eaten and the rain is heavy, they might want to get some little nice shelter from a big tree, and you see them once in a while just shaking their whole bodies to get rid of the water that is trapped on their fur. So not sure we can see this lion here. Do you want me just to reposition? So we want to reposition and see whether the lion Sinak is still here. The last I checked, he was still eating. So we're going to back up a little bit. James, allow me to back up. There. And then try to move forward. You see our flaps are down, and they also look funny. We have the lighting here. It's because we brought the flaps down because of the rain. But I would say, so far so good. James has managed to open one window where he can shoot from. Do I need to keep going, James? Is that good for you? Gonna try from there? Keep going? Okay. James have a very special window. What do you mean there, James? James tell me to stop there because he has made a special window where we can see, excuse me, the zebra kill. And I think the one lion I told you, is he gone? Yes, he could not stand the rain. And I think he just left. And you can see the zebra still there. Yeah, lions are very clever, I'm saying so, because many cats don't like the rain, and well, unlikely they would get an infection, unless, it's very heavy rain. They could get something like TB or pneumonia, or they could pick a cold. We have seen, lions after heavy rains sneezing, and just like any other mammal, including human beings, if you're exposed to too much cold, you might get a little cold or a little flu. So the zebra just lays down there, or what used to be a bachelor zebra, and the lions must have taken off to get some shelter somewhere, because you can see the raindrops dropping. Crowfoot's the most active animals in the rain. I do not think there's any. In general, all animals out here, they will slow down. But if, for example, the elephants are caught by the rain in an open area with no trees, no shelter, no cover, I'll tell you what, elephants will keep eating. And the same case to the buffaloes. But most cats will always try and look for shelter. So I would tell you, to me, I would think elephants remain active regardless of the weather. And even in the rain, you will not see them like trying to rush and trying to get away from the rain because it's raining. They'll still continue eating. Knowing how much they eat in a day, they'll tend to remain in the same area and they keep feeding. I just want to move forward a little bit and see if those lions could be anywhere. If I switch on my light, I would not want to run on any one of them. It's just a little bit dark for me to move. But I go to my left, James thinks? Okay. James thinks from his special... I stop there? Okay, James thinks he might have seen something that I did not see, but he got a window that I'm not benefiting from. And you can see the amount of rain that is falling here. And I'll still keep repositioning myself until I find out where these lions are. There's one laying down there, And see, he doesn't look worried. He's just flicking the ear, regardless of the heavy rain that you're picking from the flaps in the tent of the car. I will reposition again, but in the meantime, we'll take you back to South Africa to James Henry.
Well, we're still driving up the Mlawamati, hoping to find a dog or two, or a leopard. No luck just yet. We did have further elephants. The elephants certainly are enjoying the Mlawamati today. Oops, nearly fell out of the car. I do love driving up drainage lines, I must say. I don't know actually, Ivy. I'm not sure if elephant's milk is similar to human milk or not. That's a good question. Look, I imagine it's relatively similar in that it's milk. And no, Emma's directing today. She says, I never milked an elephant. No, I haven't. You know, it's probably very rich in fat. That, of course, is what youngsters need when they are born. But, of course, because the diet of the elephant is very different from that of most humans, some vegans probably eat quite similar diet to that scoffed by the elephants, and their milk might be quite similar. I suspect the milk is relatively similar, but, you know, in the same way that cow's milk is probably the same as ours. But not quite, if you know what I mean. We'll just keep driving through here and pop out the other side, and then I think probably see if we can find Hosana. I think it'd be a very, very good idea to keep an eye out on the damn cam, because those hounds could easily pitch up there sometime during the course of the evening. Hold on tight, a little bit of a bump. Ooh, and apparently there are a lot of baby impalas that are enjoying the waters of the Djuma Dam pea soup. It is very much like pea soup at the moment. There's a very strange knocking sound coming from under the car, which I'm going to have to look at some stage, but don't worry for now, we should be alright. Right. Oh, right, okay, I'm going to do that. We're going to go back to David, who's actually got a real animal for you in the Maasai Mara with a cup of chai and a window to the world. Cool.
Well, these lions don't look very worried by the rain. As much as you can see, he's crouching a little bit and definitely not very comfortable with the rain. For those who are joining us now, you notice our lion there looks black and white. It is because we are in infrared, and infrared is very special light that helps us to see the wilderness or the animals we are watching without shining any artificial light to them. We see him very clearly, and he may not see us. He has an idea we are here, but he doesn't see us, and we do not affect his behavior in any way. So when he flicks his ears like that, it's definitely not because of any flies. It's because of the raindrops. Do you want to wake up? Do you want to shake your body because of the amount of water on, in your fur because of the rain? This is the Olololo, Pride of Lions. Minamu, very good question. How can they digest so much flesh without drinking water? Now, what lions have found to do, Minamu, as soon as they make their kill, they will start eating it immediately. And I'm assuming the flesh also have an amount of water in it. Just like in human beings, when we talk of our blood and say our blood, most of our, the biggest percentage of our blood is water. It would be the same case to the mammals, and in this case, there is zebra here. So as much as they eat the flesh, indirectly also they get the water from the flesh. But at one point minimum, I can tell you, maybe another 1 hour, 2 hours from now, they're going to the nearest source of water and they'll have a drink because they need that for digestion. Kimberly, that's a great comment. Kitty cat, go under the tree, and I'll tell you, Kimberly, we call lions here Simba. That's our local language. For lions, we call them Simba. So I'll tell that Simba, please go look for some shelter. That's what Kimberly is saying. I do not know where, Kimberly, you come from, but I'll tell this lion or this male Simba what advice you just gave him, because it doesn't make any sense to stay there. But remember, Kimberly, next to him is the zebra, and so he doesn't want to go away from his food. If they leave their kill, what will happen? Possibly hyenas will come and snatch their dinner, so they may stay put there regardless of the rain. Out in the bush, sometimes we say it's always survival for the fittest. But these boys are young and they're very strong, the 5 of them, and I can tell you they could handle any group or clan of hyenas. But 10-15 hyenas would definitely outnumber these lions and they'll move away. Not very far from where we are, we got a clan of hyenas that's called the North Clan, and it got about 70 members or so, and they're very aggressive, very fierce. Tanya, I'll tell you, hyenas got wonderful smell, and you're wondering whether they can take the zebra in the rain. Now, what I think the rain has done, it has like masked the smell of the zebra, or it has kept it fresh. So it's not radiating, or the smell is not going out there. The fresh is, I mean, the zebra or the flesh is still very fresh. So not much of it has been hit by the sun to radiate the smell out there. But now with the rains, it has made it even cooler. It's just like how you put your meat in an ice box. So it's going to be difficult for hyenas to pick this. But Tanya will tell you, hyenas, anything from 10 kilometers, they can pick any lion's breaking or tearing meat, or like 6 point something miles. So if they pick this, regardless of the rain, Tanya, the lions will come here. I mean, the hyenas will come here. And one of the reasons these lions are not leaving this zebra is because they do not want to take any chances. And the biggest concern would be hyenas. Come daylight tomorrow morning, around this area, you'll start seeing vultures landing and perching, waiting for the lions to leave. And they'll come and start doing what they normally do. After the lions move on, they'll take over. But again, depending on who will get here first, either them or the hyenas. Many times we have seen hyenas looking on top of trees, and the spot or the area they'll see the trees, that's where they'll always go. So what would happen here is, at the moment, definitely the hyenas will not be able to see anything in the darkness. If you've got vultures up, on the trees, hyenas will not be able to do that. What they may depend on at the moment is what they can hear. And as I said earlier, they have very good audacity, and they can pick small little vibrations, be it lions cracking or breaking bones or tearing a meat. They can pick anything from as far as 10 kilometers away, and the moment they do that, they're going to locate it, and they call each other in big groups, and they go to that sighting or whatever kill it is. Get there, assess the situation, first look how many lions there are, and the hyenas will assess how many are we. If they realize their number is small, they start calling each other. Ooh, ooh. And as the numbers swell, the lions will be watching, and the moment they think it's time to leave the sighting or the kill, they start peeling off one after the other, and then the hyenas are going to take over. At one point they get very close to the kill, they cock up their tails, their ears, and they pretend to be very big. And the lions will be watching. They watch as they eat, and they will communicate depending on their numbers. You know what? We don't want to risk ourselves, because at one point, either the lions will agree to share the kill together with the hyenas, or the hyenas will try to intimidate them, and they'll want them moving away. Not sure there's any lion that has come back to the kill, or the one that's just lying down. James, do you think he has woken up, or he's still lying down there? You see that James's special window? You were given some advice earlier to go and look for some shelter. I think it was Mandarin, I can't remember the viewer, who advised this lion, big yawn, to go and look for some shelter. I don't think he listened to you. But again, as I said, no, they're not very good listeners, just yawning. But again, as I said, so long as they have the food here, they burn, I would say, so many kilocalories, and they will not afford to leave it. There's one coming in. Look at those bellies. See how full they are. You want to snuggle? You want to say hello? Hello, here we say jumbo. You want to say jumbo? Look at that belly. I don't know how many pounds, maybe what, 15 pounds in that belly, or even 20 pounds? I'm not surprised. So two of them. I'm not sure whether they're heading back to the kill or to the crime scene. So one stays back. Are you too full? Do you want to join your brothers and go party? Because they'll always rise up and shake all the water they have in the fire. And the fire is quite solid and very close to each other, so it doesn't matter how much rain sometimes they get, they'll tend to stick in the same area. Are you trying to throw up? What are you trying to do? Sometimes when they eat, oops, he goes down, turns around, have an up. Sometimes they tend to eat very quickly, being greedy, and they might have chunks of meat that did not get in the stomach very well. And if it gives them a bit of indigestion, we have seen them, trying to throw up. And when they can't throw up, we have seen lions and other cats eating grass to just, induce the vomiting. So another one coming in. So there were 5 males, young ones. And 1K, you say they're very impressive. And I tell you, they have eaten so much meat. They look to be in very good shape. And maybe now they're even enjoying the time, because the rain seems to be subsiding, which will be very good for them. And look at the beauty of these lions. And for anybody joining us now, this is the Olololo, Pride of Lions. And we're in the Mara Triangle in Kenya, coming to you live. And remember, should you have any questions or comments, you can send them through using hashtag Safari Live on Twitter. You need to join your brothers and eat. Just don't stay there. James, would you like me to back up and find out if they've got the kill?
Yes.
Okay, James says yes. A very simple answer. He never even waited for me to ask him the question. All right, James. All right, as I'm doing that, I'll take you to another James. I want to find out how I can differentiate these two Jameses. One James in Kenya and another James in South Africa. I'm going to find a formula how to tell them apart. Let's go to James, the one in South Africa.
Noon again, everybody. I've just been attempting a finding of Hosanna the male leopard. Unfortunately, I failed to find him. I found a couple of starlings, a few irritated hornbills, and that's about it. Seems like an appropriate time to get into Tracking Tuesdays, which was yesterday. Today, of course, is Wednesday, and the answer to Tracking Tuesday is delivered to you by me on this day on Wednesdays. Now, many of you did not get it right. Popular guesses to Tracking Tuesday's track were wild dog, leopard, serval. I will tell you that one of those was correct. Am I sitting far enough away that you can focus on me? If you missed it, here is Tracking Tuesday Open the image, thank you very much. There it is. I'm going to cover that part. No. There we go. Now what you're looking for there is the 3 lobes at the back. So that tells you it cannot be a dog. It must be a cat of some sort. A leopard's is much larger than that. If you look at the Leatherman, which is about, what is it, about 4 inches long. So that track is no more than, it's probably less than 4 inches long. So the track's about 1 inch in length. And it is also relatively exploded. Now what I mean by that is that the back pad is separated slightly from the front pads. Now if you looked at the track of a hyena, for example, those front toes would be pretty squashed against the back pad. But it's not as exploded as a leopard track, but it is a very, very similar shape to a leopard track, but much, much smaller, and therefore it must be a serval. It is in fact a serval track. And thank you very much for those of you who participated in Tracking Tuesdays. It was a remarkable feat for some of you to get it. I personally probably would not have got it if I'd been sitting all the way in the United States of America, or the United Kingdom perhaps, or Lagos, Nigeria, and if I hadn't seen such a track on the ground myself. But what you were looking for there is the 3-lobed back pad, and actually looks very similar to a house cat's track. It's just a little bit bigger.
I can help you find a place if you turn on location services. Go to privacy settings, select location services, scroll to Syrian dictation and allow location access.
Have you finished? Thank you. I don't know why that happened. She gets very left out sometimes, does this person in my phone. I don't know why she did that. I don't know where she thinks I want to go, that I need the location services turned on. Anyway, that was the serval we had. I can't find Hosanna. I think we're going to go back towards the pan, because I think he may well pitch up there. Paula, you say it was a lovely track. It really was beautifully, captured. I'm not sure who captured it. Was it our picture? Or did we lift it? It was, yes, of course. It was of the Vov. Because the Vov, of course, was with those servals, and he captured the track beautifully. We won't be driving backwards for the rest of the afternoon, I promise. I'm just going to do a little turnsy about here. Orly, of course, has failed to do anything of use this afternoon, in so much as he hasn't found us anything to look at. Orly, would you please improve your form? He's currently sitting on the back of the car holding a stick. The stick that I retrieved from under the car. Despite my advanced age, he and Senzo sat on the car like Lord and Second Lord Muck while I got under it, lay on my back, risked my life and limb to remove the stick from the car. And when I handed it to Polly, he said, "Yo, it's hot." Yeah, well it was. It was very hot under there. Anyway, we're going to go back to the pan. Very gorgeous. Ah, well, it's interesting, Safari Lover, you say Siri wanted to show me where Hosanna was. She did say Hasana, I can't find Hasana, or something like that. But if you turn on your location services, I may be able to help you. That's precisely, maybe that's what it was. Where is Hosanna?
Sorry, I don't know where that is.
Siri, Hosanna is a leopard, not a place. Where is he?
I can help you find a place if you turn on location services.
No, she's lost her mind. Imagine it was that easy. Siri, where is Hosanna? I'll send you a pin. Ah, now let's go back up to the Volv, who took that wonderful serval track, Maybe he will be taking some pictures of his current cats.
Welcome back, everybody. We are indeed with two very soggy and wet lions. They have just stayed in the same place. And this one stood up and did a bit of a shake. An enormous amount of water came off of its fur. And now it's time to do a bit of licking. The rain has really settled in, a very nice little drizzle falling down. It seems as if it might be passing, but we're all covered up in the vehicle. Trying out a new camera this evening, ME20, which apparently got much better, oh there we go, much better definition and distance on the infrared. That's about as much as I can tell you at the moment. I'm sure I will learn more about it in the coming weeks. Obviously, all these new technologies or things that we need to work with, we need practice on. And so, Manu is doing his best. He's been calibrating for the last little while. And ooh, that's the spot right there on the belly. Oh, that's a good spot. Have you ever seen your dog do that when they scratch themselves and then they start licking? Ryan, no, I don't know if these two have got names. They're quite young in the pride, and the Olololo pride itself, not that I know, I don't know if any of them have been named. There might be some names that the locals have given, but I haven't come across any of that. You know, there's a pride we don't spend a lot of time with because they spend quite a bit of time in the marsh, and also a lot of time they disappear into sort of the thickets. Excuse me. And so we haven't named any of them. There's not too many. The prides that we're able to spend a lot of time with and really develop characters with them, they generally get some names. But we aren't able to follow these animals all the time because of where they spend their time. But the last little while, we've had quite a lot of luck with them. Let's just walked right past our car. Finally, they are up. This one is going to follow the other one. And they're probably going to move across towards the zebra and go and maybe join David Gitu in his sighting over there. I do believe he's still in the same place. The rain was really pouring down for the longest time. The lions have held it out, and now that it's seeming to dissipate somewhat, it's time to get up and start moving. Beautiful. We are really blessed to spend time with the lions. You can see how wet it is on the side there. MGN Soggy Paw, indeed. Soggy Paw 1 and 2. So the lion has been trying to keep part of its body dry. Ooh, a stumble and fall. You can see the one side of the body is absolutely drenched, and well, the rest of the body, they've been trying to sort of tuck under themselves and keep dry from the rain. And now it's time to go move and wet the parts that they've kept dry on the wet grass. So it doesn't make a lot of sense, but that's what's happening right now. And well, we're going to see if we can turn around and follow them, but it is quite muddy and slippery, so we're going to have to be very careful. And you can see how we're covered here. Okay, well, David is not far over on that side, so I'm sure he's now heard the news that they are on their way. So let's go and see if they indeed are going to come catch up with the rest of their family members.
Well, Steve, you have to be very careful. The only one thing you don't want is to get stuck in the Mara. Looking at the geology of the Mara, most of the soil we got is the black cotton soil. And when you get stuck in black cotton soil, you'll be in a lot of trouble. Now, the rains have stopped, and the snoozy lions, the sleeping, have stopped also. And that translated them to coming back to their dinner. For those of you who could be a bit squeamish, I might request you not to watch this. But in real world, this is exactly what plays out here in the African wilderness. And for those joining us now, the pride of lions we got here is called the Olololo. Olololo is a very famous escarpment in the Mara Triangle. and when they're all together, they're always 16. But at the moment, we got 5 youngsters, 5 males, which brought down this zebra maybe now going to 4 hours ago. James, you're getting hungry seeing the lions eating. Why did you yawn? Yeah, James is thinking of food because he can see the lions eating. Well, James, you might have to be patient. Dinner is not ready as yet. But let's look how the sunset looks like in South Africa.
Is that not a gorgeous, gorgeous sunset, everybody? I think it's gorgeous. It fills my heart with joy. I cannot explain to you why I'm talking like this, and I do apologize to those who find it offensive. But there is the sun, sinking in the west, obviously, because if it was sinking in the south or east, well, we'd probably have quite a problem. I can tell you an interesting story about that, actually, while you watch the sun and just enjoy it. There was an event that occurred in South Africa many, many years ago. It happened, I'm trying to think when it was exactly. It was in about 1830 odd, plus minus. I'm not very good with dates. Obviously there was quite a lot of trouble in South Africa back then, because the Xhosas, who had been living in the Eastern Cape for goodness knows how many hundreds of years, had suddenly found themselves set upon by various groups of settlers. The Boers, which were the original dust settlers, and then the Brits, of whom from whom I'm descended in some ways, on one half of my family. Anyway, the poor Xhosas who'd been living there peacefully, tending their cattle and minding their own business for the last 100 or so years, suddenly found themselves having battles. And along came this girl, and we don't really know what was wrong with her, or if she did in fact have visions, or what the story was, but she managed to convince the entire nation that they needed to slaughter all of their cattle and burn all of their crops, and in so doing the ancestors would rise and chase the irksome Brits and Dutch into the sea, and that on the appointed day, which was somewhere around January in 1830, whatever it was, on the appointed day, two suns would rise, one from the east and one from the west. Well, quite astoundingly, goodness knows how many thousands of people killed their cattle. They said something silly like 300,000 head of cattle died in the wake of this vision that this girl had. And, well, unsurprisingly, perhaps not unsurprisingly to some, but certainly unsurprisingly to me, the sun did not rise from both sides of the sky on the appointed day, and the famine and starvation that ensued was horrendous. Anyway, so when I say the sun is sinking in the west, I always think back to that story. It's a very famous incident in South African history. That buzzing you can hear is not in fact a swarm of bees. It is Sebastian Rombini flying the drone. He's just shooting some interesting shots. I don't know why we've decided to call him Sebastian Rombini. That's Senzo and I have decided that that's a good name for him. All right, so that's the sunset. I think we're probably going to move on now. I've been spectacularly unsuccessful this afternoon, and the reason that I am a little bit, well, not surprised, I remain slightly upset about it. Unsurprised because normally when you have the prospect of good things, such as a leopard found on foot around this area earlier today, a hosanna about wild dogs, you almost certainly won't find them. It's when you don't expect to find anything that all the good stuff happens. All right, let's carry on. I do want to, I'm just looking at the time and how much time we have. maybe Hyena Den. That's always a pretty good kind of bet. I think we'll go on a longish route towards the Hyena Den and see if we can't get a view of them. For those of you who weren't on the morning safari, Herbert and Sydney managed to find the Hyena Den again this morning. They had a very successful time on foot, so I think we'll go back there. If that's all right with you, I'm sure you won't mind spending some time with Corky and her cubs. Here's some baby impala. There's a little tiny little lambkin. Hello, lambkin. Tell your mummy you don't want to go near the water because Hosanna will come there, and you don't want to meet Hosanna just yet. I know he's very famous, but he will definitely eat you. So yes, go the other way. Well done. Gosh, I mean, it's just so vulnerable, isn't it? Tiny, sweet little thing. I saw the blacksmith lapwing chick today. Reminded me of Scoobit. Very nice. Okay, on we go, Senzel. Don't have all day. We'll go this way around in case the leopard they saw on foot isn't around this area. But do keep an eye on the damn cam, because if dog or cat arrives there, I will scoot over as far as I can. As fast as I can is what I meant. I can't speak today. I think my brain has been slightly cooked by the heat. It takes a while for it to get used to functioning again at boiling point. Am I out? Oh, I've unplugged myself. Who are we linking to? Linking to 3, 2, 1. Ah, to Katamba Gitu. Right, we are going in 10 seconds to Katamba Gitu. Sorry about that, I unplugged my earpiece, which wasn't ideal. Anyway, off you go. Bye-bye.
Well, James, go to the Hyena Den and find out what could be happening. Hyenas with small little cubs, they tend to be more active as it gets dark and it cools off, because their mothers know there would be any concern of predators. They are also gone. Now, I was just wondering if I would request Em to talk to James much later today or tomorrow at Sydney, and maybe we start comparing the hyenas in Juma in South Africa and the hyenas here in terms of behavior, what time they come out, or what prey they're bound to be bringing down. But most important, I would want maybe James Henry to find out for me why the clan of hyenas in Juma had to relocate or move to a new den. Now, the rains have subsided now, but it's still spitting, and this lion thought it's an opportunity of in the neck muscles. You can see how they're tearing it out. And probably would be a fish or get disturbed by this. But again, remember, there's nothing to worry, because this is how.
Sorry about that, everyone. Not sure what happened. Paulie was just... Well, no, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm sorry that you had to crash cut to us, but now I'm going to tell you what Paulie was saying. He got quite alarmed by a very light-coloured duiker. I didn't stop for it because we need to carry on and see if we can get to the den before it gets dark. So let's carry on along this road. This is round about where the leopard was seen on foot this morning. So we might be doubly lucky. And as I say, the good prospects like that seldom turn out to be much. There are lots of funny stories like the ones I told you earlier, and of course I'm sure there are with just about any country, but that's a particularly sad one because it did result in great death, great famine, great suffering. for people who really didn't deserve to be starving or suffering. There is a kudu. In fact, there are a number of kudu. A whole herd. Can you see them, Senzo? No visuals. Well, let me try and describe them to you. They are the brownish things, that's it, with the big ears and the tail sticking out. That particular one is relieving itself. Wonderful. Uh-huh. Yeah, Carl, it was a very sad story that I told you. On a more cheerful note, there's a bull kudu, probably now into his 3rd year. You can tell that from the horns, half a twist every year they are. So he's grown quite quickly. And I still can't really understand why it is, but it does seem to be the case that male kudu live half as long as females. And we can only think that it has to do with A, their fighting, and B, the fact that once their horns get very long, it becomes impossible for them to run away from potential predators. You can imagine running away from something with your head back. Alrighty, I believe the Mara is back, probably for another 10 seconds or so, so let's head up to the Maasai Mara in 10 seconds, hopefully for longer than 10 seconds. No, we didn't even get 10 seconds out of them this afternoon. Oh dear. I suspect quite strongly that the onset of the short rains there in the Maasai Mara is probably playing havoc with the signal and the internet and all sorts of other things over there. And I've no doubt the incredibly hard-working team of Edwin and Martin, ably led by Alex the Russian bear Voz, will be working overtime to sort the problem out. Oh, there's another gorgeous sunset going on to the right. I can just see it. If only we could get a little bit of height, but I don't think we can. Let's carry on. I want to see the hyenas. There's lightning all around us now. There's even a little bit of rain or two. It really is the most wonderfully atmospheric afternoon. Evening now, what with it being 6:20. There are more elephants there. If you don't mind, I'm not going to stop for them. I'm going to carry on, try and get to the hyenas. Let's ask Emma to say the word hyena. Oh, no, okay. Apparently we are going to go across to the Maasai Mara. Emma can say hyena. Many of the directors can't. They think it has 2 H's in it. Let's go across to the Mara now. 10 seconds for David. And then hopefully longer than 10 seconds once you're there.
Well, hopefully good things are going to happen there. And may I first apologize for the gremlins I had before. You just disappeared from me. Sometimes these technical, hitches will come once in a while, but we are now back in business and our lions are still feeding on this zebra. And I think this particular one is concentrating on the head. And I don't know what's the good meat around that area. Initially it was the neck, and James is saying it's eating the fillet stick. James, what makes you think of fillet stick? I think you are hoping David is going to make us some fillet stick. One of our chefs is called David, and when James is talking of fillet stick, he's wishing maybe that's what David will going to prepare tonight for dinner. Yeah, James, the time he'll agree to come in front of the camera, you will see how small he is, big he is, and he needs a good amount of food to keep him going. So, and I'm sure as he sees the lions eating, his appetite is coming up. But sorry, James, you may not eat until maybe another 1 hour or so. Keep holding and keep swallowing saliva and keep telling these lions bon appetit. That's the best I can do for you, James. Once in a while when we leave camp, James will carry some biscuits and some peanuts. And I was looking in the cool box, I can see nothing. And could be a way of enjoying his appetite or taking care of himself, seeing these lions feasting and eating and eating. Where are the other two? Karina, yes, you're right. Maybe they might be going for the brain, but they may need first to break the skull of, oops, you're pulling the lips of this zebra. And Karina, you're right. They could be going for the brain, and I've always heard the brain is very soft and very yummy, so they could just swallow it, maybe even without, cutting it into pieces. You got a point. Ears gone, eyes gone, the tongue definitely gone. Trying just to shear now maybe the nose or the muzzles, because zebras have very huge lips, and sometimes if they don't have teeth around that area. Manueline, there is a hierarchy depending on the pride and how it has been executed. Now, these youngsters here, these boys are young, but in the Olololo pride, these lions belong to a pride that we call the Olololos. These are young boys, but we also have the bigger boys that come or live in this area that we call the triangle boys. If they come here, now these boys will stay aside and the big males will eat. If females are the ones that will have done the hunt, they will always eat first, and if they're in a teeny small cubs, then they will join in and start eating. That's the kind of hierarchy that is always with the lions. But these boys, at the moment, anybody can just dig in. Still holding the head, doesn't want to let the head go, eh? Getting the skin out. Paula, I would say the brain is very nutritious. James, do you agree? Why do you say so, James?
It's always covered by fur and there's cover.
Well, Paula, James is trying to give me a very misleading answer and saying the brain is always very nutritious because it's covered by the fur and the skull. Well, most brains are covered by the same, James, yours and mine. So I don't know what you're talking about. But yes, to me, brain is very nutritious. We have always seen hyenas, when they break the skull of most of these animals, just sucking the brain right through. I'm not sure what part of flesh this lion is up to, because that area, just the skull of the zebra, it's just the skin. The ears could have been there, gone long time ago, and trying to marinate the skin to open up what? I am sure there's something he is looking for, whatever it is. And James is the tongue, ears, eyes, the tongue, and the lips always go very quickly. They know they're soft, and they just cut them in pieces and they swallow one after the other. They must be very on this feast. But I can tell you most of the internal organs are gone. The lungs that I had seen earlier, I don't see them anymore. The heart, liver, are always very favorite for these lions. I do not know what attention they got. Maybe they could have seen lions from a distance, or hyenas they might have had. You never know. And let's go across to Steve Ovo and find out whether he has more lions.
Yeah, thanks, David. Well, we lost our lions. They moved away from us. We tried to keep up with them, but, well, it wasn't possible. There's a huge lugger in the way. We've now come around, and they were being very playful, which was nice. And the proof of this ME20 camera, we were able to spot them from a long distance using it at night, which is something we haven't been doing very well with the other cameras because of some infrared sort of thing. I'm pretty sure that Manu will be able to explain it to me much better at some stage, but it looked really, really nice. For example, when we spend time with hunting lions, often we have to get a little bit closer to be able to see them with the infrared, whereas this one must have been 40, 50 meters, eh? Manu? Yeah. At least, eh? They were getting them quite clearly, which is quite nice to see. So the tests continue, and well, hopefully we can show you in a minute if we find them. But they were heading down this way, being very playful. They had no idea about the zebra. No idea. They've gone off in a different direction altogether to David and his Olololo pride. I wonder where these two youngsters think they're going to find some friends. M1K, most certainly. The sense of smell gets washed away almost completely. Most animals who scent mark will have to re-scent mark after rain, because the rain washes it away. And also the rain adds all sorts of other smells to the air that, you know, the earth, the smell of the earth. There's a lovely fresh smell after rain, isn't there? And it's kind of the overpowering smell that you get. So it would have washed it all away. And also when it rains, I suppose it's about wind direction. I suppose if the wind was blowing in the right direction, they'd be able to smell their carcass, but it wasn't. But it definitely does dampen things. Definitely dampens everything. Dampens a lot of senses, in fact. It makes the ground less noisy, I suppose, and less, a little bit squishy, you know, a little, that sort of wet sound. But if the lions are walking in the grass, it might take away that sort of crisp sound that grass makes when you walk through it. It doesn't have the same sort of sound or noise that an animal might hear. But I'm not sure where these two lions are. It's possible they've crossed the road into the marsh, which makes it impossible to follow them. But we're just going to keep meandering down, see what it is we can find. Who knows what might be out in the evening. We haven't gone very far this evening due to the activity that we found right at the bottom of the hill. And the activity I'm talking about, namely, is David with 5 lions eating a zebra.
Well, they have had a break now, and I think they have eaten enough. In the darkness, it's rather difficult to identify the lions, and we need to see them in daylight to have all the qualities or all the signs we use to ID the lions. For example, looking at the eyes, looking at the ears, sometimes if you have a tear on the ear, looking at the tails. And some of the lions also got wounds and or scars that we have known for a long time, and that way we are able to identify them. So that's why maybe Steve could be having a bit of a challenge there, because I got here early in daylight and I knew who these lions are. That's why I would say 100% these are the Olololos. Sorry, I lost your comms there. All right, let's first go across to Zolly.
Good afternoon and welcome. This is Oli coming to you live in Djuma, Kruger National Park in the Sabi Sand. We are with the hyenas again, the whole family. Earlier on this morning we had only the adults, so the cubs are outside. Pretty is here. Corky, I can't get the sighting, but when we came this side, one hyena went around the termite mound, so I think it's one of the mother of these cubs. There are 3 in total. You can see these 2 with spots. They belong to Pretty, and this one you're looking right now is for Corky. He's still a young chap. Beautiful. Kristen, yes, I'm also happy to see them because this morning I didn't see them. They were inside there while their parents were outside. Oh, look at that. It's starting to rain now. Let's hope they're going to still be outside. And look at that. This is grooming. This is for sure this is pretty because you can see her cubs are the oldest one, the one with spots. So the one I can get her visual is Corky, the matriarch. As you can see, her cub is busy looking for her now. Oh, this is pretty, doing some pretty job here, grooming her cub. I'm not sure whether it's just a female or a male because Pretty has two cubs, which are there's a female and a male. Here she goes. This cub is patiently waiting. Yes, Lindsay, they are getting so big quick. I didn't expect to see such big cubs now. I thought they were going to be so smaller around this time, but they are big. They're having spots now. And look at this. It's just coming to me now. Let me lower my voice. So cute. Hello. Hello, come here. Don't run away, please. Oh, he's walking away. You can see the mother is protective over her cubs. Even if she's asleep or lying, you can see the ears are moving all over the place because she has to listen to the surrounding of any dangers, because these cubs, while they are outside here, they are vulnerable. They are less vulnerable when they are around, but if they are not aware about the dangers around their den, they might be in danger. So that's why they have to be alert at all times. Oh, where's your mommy? Where's Corky? Oh, this is beautiful. Oh, how do hyenas hunt, Roosevelt? I'm not sure whether I said your name right, but hyenas hunt like any carnivores do, like their lions. But what they do is they are not an ambush and species, so they have a stamina to run long distances so that they will tire their prey. The other strategy of hunting is to scavenge, obviously, but they don't do that much here. I've seen hyenas scavenging, I've seen hyenas hunting, but they do a lot of hunting than scavenging, as it's known. So they are not in a hunting mode now because it's time for grooming. Oh, that one over there is a little bit bored because he's alone. The mom went over. Oh, here he comes. This is good because he won't be alone anymore. We are so lucky because the wind just started to blow. And then, oh, look at that. As I was saying, the wind is blowing, but they're not going into a den. They're still enjoying our sighting. I'm sure we're enjoying looking at them. They're also enjoying looking at us. Oh, here it comes. The suckling. I'm sure you've cleaned that nipple before you put the mouth in there. Oh, shame. Oh, yes, safari lover, the rain is everywhere. This is the wet season. We're expecting a lot of rain this time. So probably we're gonna have the rain this tonight. Hopefully you're gonna get some rain. Not only it's gonna benefit us, that's gonna be cool, it's also gonna benefit the vegetation and the animals that rely on water, because it's dry this time. Hopefully you're gonna have more rain. We are still live in the Kruger National Park. Hopefully you're enjoying the sighting as I am enjoying the hyena sighting. Look at that. While we're watching these little ones circling, let's go to David in the Mara with the lions.
Very well done, James, for getting the hyenas, and hopefully you'll get my message. I want us, maybe from today going forward, we start comparing our hyenas, or the hyenas in Juma and the hyenas in the Mara Triangle, in terms of behavior. But one thing I'll let you know, the big difference between these two, as much as they are the same species, the spotted hyena, it is the numbers. We have been following the North Clan hyenas, which are huge numbers. Not sure how many of the hyenas that James got. Now, if the North Clan hyenas could be anywhere around here, or they would have smelt this zebra, these lions would be long gone. So they just turned it around when there were three together, and then two have left and just laid down. But this one particular one can stop eating, and if I were this lion, I would be eating some little softer part of the flesh and not trying to struggle to open a new area, because that's exactly what I think he's doing. Very good. Now the rains have completely stopped, but we are still using the special window that was designed by James, because what would happen here, sometimes the rains are very unpredictable. The times will be without any cloud or any sign of rain, and we just get huge drops. So because we cannot see very well, in the sky now, we can't see the clouds when they're building up. We don't want to take any chances. We've got very expensive camera equipment in the car and would not want to be caught off guard by the rains. These lions all this time have been rained on, and they did not move an inch. The one that was eating was still eating. The other ones that were just laying down stayed there, protecting their kill. And yes, speak of the devil, I can hear some drops coming, so we better stay the way we are. We are much safer that way. Now this rain is doing a lot of good to these lions, because it's just maintaining it and keeping it fresh, just like how we'll always store food either in the freezer or in the fridge. And the coolness will help these lions have it for a few more days. Keep enjoying. Turn around your zebra. Reach what you want. Yes, turn it around. Pick it up. Pull it up. Good. There's a lot of strength on this lion, and we'll take you across to South Africa. Keep pulling it. Keep pulling it. And if you want some help, call your brothers to come and help you. Now, to me, lions do not have, or do not, they don't have very strong neck muscles, unlike leopards. You see there, he tried to turn it around and then he was unable. But leopards got very strong neck muscles. And we'll take you close to James and find out what his hyenas want to do.
We just missed what was happening here. Two cubs were fighting, Cookie's cubs were fighting each other. I think it's for dominance, because they were trying to circle, so they started there and then they went down and then they went to the hole. And what happened is Pretty tried to she tried to calm them down, but they didn't. So what happened is, while they were still fighting, she went straight to Cookie's cub. She attacked it, but she didn't get any time to bite it or injure it. The cub went straight into the den. So they are all in there. I think they're going inside now because the wind it's blowing too much now, and the drops are coming down now, and we have lightnings on the eastern side of the reserve. Oh, this was wonderful. Listen to that. Yes, we just discipline, Jackie. Yes, Jackie, you're right. This discipline. That's discipline. So what's happening now is Pretty standing right at the entrance of this den. I don't know if the cub that belongs to Corky is fine or what. As we lost the visual of Corky, I don't know where she went. But what's happening here is Corky has an oldest cub compared to these two Pretty's cubs. And then these cubs, they bow when they are around this cub, even if it's so small and young. It's about 5 weeks old, and these two, they are about 2 months old because they have spots now. So Corky's cub haven't had spots yet because it's still young. As they were fighting hyenas. Hyenas are so smelly, but very good looking. Oh, look at that. I'm sure the cub is safe there. Look at that. So now they are getting more vulnerable because if the wind blows much, they won't be able to detect the sound of other predators when they're approaching or calling. So they need to be very aware using their eyesight and their smell. This is beautiful. This is really beautiful. Hoping to see more action, but there's cubs are going inside now because the weather is changing. It's really changing because there's a lot of wind. It's cloudy. There's lightnings. There's thunders. Let me move forward and see whether I will get a nice view over there. Sorry about that, Senzo. Let me try and get some view, nice view here. Here they go. Yes. This is awesome. You have a look here. Listen to the sound. Oh, as you can see, the picture is in black and white because we are using infrared. It's getting dark now, so we have to accommodate these animals so that we don't have to use the white light or any artificial light that might change or affect their behavior. Look at the nose. They're smelling. They have to smell. They have to use their sense of smell, sense of hearing. This is nice. I think the dominant one is that one at the back there, the one who's suckling, because even if when they were fighting, it was the one that was strong and he put this other one down. I don't know what's really happening. This is beautiful. I didn't hear that, please, because of the wind. It's blowing so much. Yes, positive Rachel, positive. Corky's cub outrank Pretty's cubs because Corky is a matriarch of this clan. And if you can check that, Corky's cub is younger than these cubs, but they have to bow unto the cub because he's a cub belonging to a matriarch. Oh, I hope they're getting some milk there. They have to feel warm at all times because they are still young and vulnerable. So the warmth from the body's mom, it helps a lot sometimes when they are here outside. I think this female will be leaving soon to go and forage or hunt or something, because this mother has to eat a lot so that she will have enough milk to feed these young chaps over here. Oh, Highness, they are so smelly here. This is beautiful, hey? And I'm sure we're gonna have a lot of rain tonight. I'm not a climatologist, but looking at these clouds, we're gonna have a lot of rain tonight or tomorrow morning, hopefully. Yes, I'm also glad to see the hyenas because looking at these young ones is so great because you can see the number of the population is increasing just by looking at these young ones. New lives means prosperity. These young ones are beautiful. While we're looking at these young chaps wrestling here, let's go to Steve in the Mara.
Welcome back to the Mara, where the rain has picked up its pace once again, and we are doing a segment from the tent. It's very wet outside. The rain is pouring down, and Manu is being artistic there with the raindrops on the window. How beautiful, how beautiful. Raindrops are falling on our head, Manu. Thankfully they're not, because we've got a very well sorted out canvas roof on the sides, and we've got a lot of equipment inside this vehicle that's worth a lot of money. If we get it wet, well, we're going to be in lots of trouble, so we have to cover everything up. But the been hoping for seem to have arrived. This is the sort of the most amount of rain I've experienced without stopping. We've had lots of thunderstorms and storms moving in and passing quite quickly within 20 minutes, half an hour, but this one hasn't stopped for the most part of the evening. Good for the environment, good for the savannah, good for the animals. It might keep the wildebeest that have turned around, might keep them in place, but not great for game viewing from this perspective unless they jump out in the middle of the road. If you were with me a while ago when I was driving with Archie down the road, when a lion jumped across the road and chased some wildebeest, that was probably the most exciting vehicle tent segment I've ever had, but we weren't able to see it anymore because it disappeared over the grass verge. Emma remembers that. I think Louise was directing, because I was talking and I was about to link and went, lion! And the lion jumped, and I was like, whoa! Because I can see from here, but from there, you can see when Manu frames forward, you can't see through the window. And I just realized as well that the Keto, the vehicle I'm in, doesn't have the lovely squeegee. I need to find another squeegee, because that's what helps to windscreen wiper the wipers on the windscreen. Indeed. Or maybe I should just get a potato. Did you know that? Wiping a potato on a windscreen actually works quite well for displacing the water. Well, anyway, while we navigate the wet, David Gitu is stationary with some very well-fed lions.
Well, the rains have gotten bigger here, and you can see from your screen there the drops falling one after the other, and actually we are getting some few drops leaking through the canvas. I don't know how the water is coming in here, and hopefully it doesn't damage our equipment. This one lion is not letting go. Look at him, regardless of the big drops coming down, as Steve was talking about, he still thinks he needs to keep enjoying his dinner, one eye closed, one eye opened. I'm not sure he's getting drops of water or rain in his eyes, and that's not what he wants. But of course he needs to see what he's eating, maybe, or he just needs to feel where the flesh is. He's the same youngster who was holding the head, and you can see how one of the paws, with his left paw, he's holding tight the head there. And then a bit of thawing, a bit of marination. I said earlier, most cats have tongues that are very rough, and they're like saws. They can either cut off the fur, which they don't need to eat, Davis, you're talking about the eyes and the night vision, I guess, and lions would tend to see pretty good at night, and that's why when we use the infrared we do not affect them, because we can see them better and they cannot see us. And to me, lions are some of the cats that see very well at night. They have been known to use darkness to hunt their food. And you can feel, or see the amount of rain now falling. And it's getting heavier with time. And let's go back again to South Africa, to the hyenas with James.
Hello everybody, I'm back in the hot seat. Claudia said to me that I'd taken enough of the afternoon off and that I should get into the seat and do some damn work. Well, here I am, doing my best. We're sitting here, of course, with Pretty and her two cubs, and little Corky's cub is back inside the hole there. Now, there was a bit of a scuffle earlier, as I nearly said as Corky said, but of course I'm not talking about Corky, as Claudia said. and Pretty did try and intervene, but it looked like her two cubs were really getting on top of, or one of them was getting on top of the other. And as I've said, I think one is male and one is female, and I'm pretty sure the female was bashing the male. She's definitely bigger than him already. Perhaps that is a protective embrace that Pretty has assumed. Perfect little replicas those paws are of what their adult feet will look like, of course. You can just see the spots on the legs starting to form. Tanya, a hyena cub nurses actually for longer than any other mammal of comparable size, as far as I'm aware. Certainly any other mammal of comparable size out here. They can nurse for up to 2 years. Normally sort of 18 months, sometimes a year, but it can be up to 2 years that they will try and nurse. It's quite ridiculous watching a 2-year-old hyena trying to nurse. It's not that common, but it does happen from time to time. But certainly much longer than you'd expect them to. It's probably also much more common that they nurse for about a year or so. Ramona, those little feet are very cute indeed. Very, very sweet little things. Especially that one. I think that's the female there, and she's a bit of a bully. But if you're not a bully in hyena society, you simply don't get very far. You unfortunately find yourself on the periphery of society, not eating a great deal. She's looking up now and again, but everything's pretty relaxed. And I believe that maybe Corky pitched up at the dam cam. I'd have been surprised if it was her, because she was here and she walked off the other way. But maybe she's pitched up there looking for a drink. A number of you thought it might be. Well, I mean, it's not often that our hyena experts are wrong. In fact, very seldom, in fact. Almost never. Anyway, things are nice and calm here, and I must say, if I was a little hyena cub, I'd be very pleased to be heading down into a den site like that, where it's warm and cozy, a little bit dusty of course, but it is warm and cozy. There seems to be a lot of rain all over Africa at the moment. Sorry, Balthazar, what was that? How big do hyenas get? Whaty? Oh, how long do they sleep for? Balthazar? Well, probably about this, just slightly more than the adults. I suspect that they probably sleep at least 20 hours a day when they're this age. And the adults sleep for quite a long time too. Probably not quite as long as 20 hours, but certainly I would say 16 or so. So yes, they do most certainly sleep a great deal. The reason I'm sounding slightly distracted at the moment is I am just trying to find the exact range of the nursing period. Simply because I'm not entirely sure I believe what I said to you. I know that I'm in the ballpark, but I just wanted to get you some slightly more accurate information. I don't seem to manage, though. You know, you'll read thousands of different things in thousands of different books, most of which are not based on any form of actual research. Here we go. Investment in lactation is high in spotted hyenas, and the cubs are suckled for 9 to 15 months, and in the Serengeti for up to 18 months. So not up to 2 years, that was a bit ridiculous, that's what stuck in my mind. To up to 18 months, 9 to 15 months normally. Now, leopards will start weaning their cubs almost before they're 3 months old, and lions at around about, well, 6 months they should be weaned. So even though these chaps are well lighter than lions, and they are quite a lot heavier than leopards, they suckle for much longer than both of those. Up to 15 months in this part of the world, and up to 18 months in the Serengeti. Why the Serengeti should be, or Serengeti hyenas should be more milk desirous, I'm not really sure. I suspect you'll find that it's the same in the Maasai Mara, and the fact that they've said the Serengeti, it just means that that's exactly where the research was done. Giraffe girl, you say, Pretty looks very content. She does look extremely content. Mama content. Now the Mara is now in really a bad way as far as rain goes, so they've battened down the hatches, and you're going to stay with me for 2 minutes and then we're going to run for cover. And I think that those little hyenas are going to go inside and stay warm and cozy. Now, of course, in the Mara, where it's raining like it is, the dens can become inundated and become quite difficult for the cubs to survive in those dens there. But here, there's, we're on a ridge crest, and the termite mound is raised, and so the chance of there being any flooding in there is absolutely impossible. Now, most of the time, when there is sort of wind and storm like this, you'll find that it goes away without very much effort on the rain front. I hope that isn't the case tonight. I hope that it absolutely heaves out of the sky a little bit later, but I suspect that it's just going to blow a bit, cover everything in dust, and then go away again. All right, everyone, there's just 20 seconds left of the sunset safari on the 21st of November. I think that's the date anyway. I hope you've had a good time with us. I've had a wonderful time with all of you. Thank you for your questions and comments. We will see you in the morning at 0500. Until then, bye-bye.